Welcome to CarePod, a safe place to educate, inspire, and renew the caregiver. Listen in with our host, Dr. Kipley Bell, as she interviews different experts along the caregiving journey.
So I am here with my dear friend, y'all know I love friends, here on the CarePod, my dear friend Jushean Lee, who I've known for over 25 years now. And Jushean is an established registered nurse and currently now working in the space of advocating for our older adult person in the context of a registered nurse care manager. And I am here grabbing Sheana and her expertise at this stage, both personally and professionally, because I found recently after our Caregiver event and being out in the field with the people that our biggest pain point is the older adult person who either makes too much and they do not qualify for services, or they don't make enough to sustain the quality of life that they deserve, frankly. And then that cost burden goes to the caregiver. So come on, Sheana, and save the day, please. Educate us, school us on healthcare navigation. So welcome to the CarePod, first of all. Welcome. Thank you for being here with me tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. We've been talking about this for a long time, just on personal levels between you and I on the phone, and what we go through with our parents, our grandparents, and so on and so forth. But part of course, the gap that we see in the community, especially with my job, is that you find that more of the cost for taking care of our elderly, loved ones is falling on the children, the grandchildren, because care in the community is very expensive. And one of the things that we're trying to do now, especially in the state of New Jersey, is a lot of the nursing homes are not providing the care that we really like and desire. I'll use those nice words. I won't use bad words. I don't want to, put a bad
stigmatize
light.
that concept, right?
Nursing facilities and nursing homes, because a lot of them are very good and provide excellent care. But we do know that there's, a certain amount that do not. And nursing home care is expensive. And for individuals that cannot afford to put their loved ones in a nursing home, or feel like culturally that that's not what we want for our parents and grandparents, we'd rather have them at home with us. There are services that are available, but those services are for people that are unfortunately almost at the poverty line in regards to income. But even those that are at that poverty level, unfortunately, don't know about a lot of the services that are provided, in our state. And that's what I do. I'm a care manager for WellPoint, which is one of our Medicaid managed care companies in the state of New Jersey. We have others. We have United. There's Horizon, which is a very large one. And I think Fidelis is another one. I'm not sure. But WellPoint is actually one of the second largest. And those are obtained through NJ Family Care. A lot of people know about NJ Family Care, and you have to apply for those services. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't know about them. They don't know about the long-term services that are provided by those companies. But I'll tell you a little bit about, what I do. So I have a roster of members in the community. They're living at home, whether with a family or by themselves. Some of them live in assisted living. We do have a population that are in the nursing facilities as well. And I see them every 3 months. And I don't know about you, but like the elderly socially, a lot of times they don't interact as much because they don't get out as much as they used to because of their chronic illnesses and, and things like that. And a lot of them are not driving anymore, so they're not getting around. So me going into the home every 3 months, they're seeing a person, they're socializing. So they get that benefit of it. We also provide home care. So we can assign a home health aide. We also provide PERS device, which is a personal emergency response system, where if you ever seen those commercials back in the day when we were kids, I've fallen and I can't get up.
Right.
A lot better now. It's not, they have some that are a necklace now, and they have others that are almost like a smartwatch, like a GPS device that has a watch on it. And this is wonderful for our, elderly that are going through dementia that may wander. You actually have like a LoJack or a GPS on your loved one. So we provide PERS devices. In addition, we have home delivered meal service where they can get pre-made meals that can be popped into a microwave. You get a meal per day. They come, I think we provide, 14 meals. Every 2 weeks, you get a meal per day, can go into the microwave. Healthy meals, low sodium, low sugar, fresh vegetables, protein. In addition to that service, we provide extra physical therapy. Now, under the Medicaid benefit, when you have Medicaid, if you are part of the long-term services and you are part of the MLTS program, you actually get more physical therapy days because you're in the program. There's little benefits you get by being enrolled in MLTSS. And MLTSS is Medicaid long-term support service. So you get
Okay, so let me back you up. Let me back you up a minute here.
Mm-hmm.
So the person who says, you know what? Okay, I want mom, I want pops to have all of these services available to them.
Mm-hmm.
But, they worked for the railroad all their life, or they were a
Yeah.
veteran, or they were a postman, and
Yeah.
they have, Medicare, and they have a great Medigap plan. Talk to us about this concept of dual eligibility and how someone then transitions to this long-term care option within the MLTSS program as a division of Medicaid to obtain these additional offerings.
Well, that's the downside of it. Unfortunately, you have to, like I said, you have to meet an income. And right now, I think the income per month is it's very low. It's like $1,800 a month in order to qualify for that. They do have a long-term service care managers specifically for members that do make more money, but you don't get the nurse that comes out to the house every 3 months. You may get extra services, but you don't get those other services like the PERS and like the home delivered meals and things like that. This is specifically for individuals in the community that are at or slightly above poverty level, unfortunately. So you have someone who, like you said, has worked for the railroad all their lives, or is a nurse, or is a teacher, or, my grandmother specifically, she was a factory worker. And although she didn't make a lot of money as a factory worker all her life, she was never at the poverty level. So it got to the point where we were trying to find care for my grandmother, and it became very difficult because they kept telling us that she made too much money. So unfortunately, for those individuals in that population of people, the middle class, there is a gap in the community.
Yeah.
There's a large gap. But for those that are at poverty level or just above poverty level, these services are available. They are, because these are individuals that can't afford nursing home care.
Right. Okay. So the path to you begins where? So we're in New Jersey, but the CarePods International for the United States, they would begin with their Department of Aging, I would assume, their local Department of Aging.
They
to
could
then
begin
get
with the
to their
aging. They could also start with calling NJ Family Care, or going on the website, having a family member that may be a little tech savvy that can say, njfamilycare.org, and applying for the Medicaid part of their insurance. If they already have Medicaid, right, and they already have the WellPoint or the Horizon or the United, they can call their member services on the back of their card and say, I'd like to enroll in MLTSS.
Gotcha.
And they will basically send a nurse out to the home to do a orientation process with them.
And what does that look like? What do you do when you do an orientation?
When I do an orientation, I go out to the home. Of course, I get their medical history. I also ask them questions about we call it informal support. Informal support are family, friends, people that are not of the medical field, that are not home health aides, that are not home care nurses, daughters, sons. Who takes care of you? Who helps you during the week? We find out who that is. Another assessment is their functionality. what can they do on their own? What can't they do on their own? What do they need help with? Can they do the laundry? At what extent can they do the laundry? How, if they can do grocery shopping, can they not do grocery shopping at all? Or do they need, the level of assistance? And that's a personal care tool, we call it. And this is not just with my company, this is with all the Medicaid companies. A nurse goes out and does those key assessments, functionality assessment, personal care assessment, to figure out, what does this individual need in the community? How much services do they need? How much help do they need? And then we go from there, and then we task and authorize the services that they need, whether it be food, the PERS device, because we have some members that culturally, they have special diets. We have a lot of members that are of the Muslim faith and they only eat halal. So home delivered meal, the companies that we use for our home delivered meals, they do not have halal at this time. But we have some members that are not necessarily halal, but they're vegetarian. We do have companies that provide vegetarian meals.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
And then does this speak to, what about dentition and the, dysphagia screens and, the ability soft versus pureed versus, what the patient can actually manage? All of those things are taken into consideration based on the nurse's assessment.
Yes, the nurse's assessment, and there's a state assessment that we have to do. We call it specifically the NJ choice. Different Medicaid companies have their own name for it, but it is a functional assessment, a functionality assessment specifically drafted by the state of New Jersey to determine how much this member needs in the community. And that assessment is done every year because things change.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? A member that is using a quad cane the next year may be in a wheelchair.
Right.
So I get about 60 members on my roster, and every year, every 365 days, I have to do another state assessment on them. If they go into the hospital and come out and there's a change in function or a decline, I have to do another assessment to determine, okay, they need more services. They need more home care, home health aid hours. An aide that I may have scored to come into the home of a member 20 hours a week, that member has maybe had valve replacement surgery or has had, is now been prescribed dialysis. The doctor says, okay, they're in end stage renal, and then now they have to have dialysis 2-3 times a week. Well, that 20 hours a week is not going to work anymore. And that's the great
so 3 questions
the
there.
program.
Okay, sorry to interrupt. 3 questions there. Does the overzealous support, if you will, right? So now you have a patient that is so well loved, so supported by the family, but family is saying, we just need this help. Does that support of the family deter or affect the amount of, or the assessment, if you will?
No, it doesn't.
So someone like myself who, yes, I got my mom, right? But, that speaks to my caregiver load and respite. So does that affect the assessment given to say, well, no, her daughter's there to help her, so we're only going to assess for this? Okay.
No, we strictly assess the individual. We don't assess the caregiver's input into that individual, because that can change, right?
Yeah. Okay.
That
and
can
what
change,
about
not just year to year, but from week to week.
Yeah. Yes. And so what about the family's ability to vet who the home health aide, do they have any say in the home health aide that's sent?
Yes.
Okay, that's good.
There's hundreds of home health aid. I may be exaggerating, but there's, to say there's hundreds of home health aid agencies in the state of New Jersey. And I tell my members, when I become their nurse and I'm assigned to them, I tell them specifically, you're the boss. You tell the agency what days you want them to come, because perhaps maybe that member doesn't need a Monday through Friday situation. Maybe they need a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, because the daughter is working out of the home, on those days, and they don't have the informal care on those days. Because again, I'm assessing, for instance, I'm going to just use a name, Anne. I've assessed that according to what I see and what she's telling me, Anne needs 30 hours a week of home health aid. That does not include anything done by the daughter, the granddaughter, the son that comes in to the home and does different things. This is what they need according to the assessment that I did on them, right? And I tell the member, listen, we're going to use Julie's, making up a name again, Julie's
Mhm.
home healthcare agency for you. Do you like Julie's? Oh yeah, I've heard great things about Julie's. My friend who lives down the street uses Julie's and she loves them. You know what I mean?
Got it. Got it.
Okay. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna authorize Julie's to come in 30 hours a week for you. The nurse coordinator at Julie's is gonna call them and say, hi Ann, your care manager authorized 30 hours a week. What does that look like for you? And a lot of times the agencies want to dictate because they want to, of course, they have aides that they like to fulfill hours for. They have employees, right? But I always tell my members, no, you're the boss. And you tell them, I need you to be here in the morning from 9 to 1. Can you please send an aide in the morning from 9 to 1? Or I don't need you every day. I'm not that, dependent.
Dependent. Mhm.
I do
Mhm.
some things still on my own, or my daughter takes me shopping on a weekend. I really need you here the days that she's at her part-time job or the days that she's at college, at school. I need you to come Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and they can split those 30 hours into those 3 days. So it's really up to them. And that empowers them. It gives them, somewhat time
Absolutely.
over their care.
Absolutely. So what about access into the home, literally? So now
Mhm.
you have somebody that has, a cognitive deficit,
Yeah.
they have support, you know, healthcare, home care has been authorized.
hmm
Who now is allowing that person in, or how is that structured?
Well, see, now that's where the family comes in.
Okay. Hmm.
That's where the family says, listen, once you've established a relationship, and that's the thing, a lot of times these home health aides, they become a part of the family.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Yeah.
where I've experienced many times where I had an individual who she was alone and she really didn't have that much family. And her home health aide had a key to get in and out. She lived in a high-rise senior apartment building in Patterson, not in the best neighborhood. And for her to try to get downstairs to let this person in because the door downstairs is broken. These are things
Right.
we
These
experience.
are very real, right?
These are real
Exactly.
situations. She's
Real.
like,
Mhm.
I had to give her a key, but I trust her. I've been with her. She's been with me for this many months.
Got you.
So
Okay.
like that as far as
And
access.
then
But
the agencies are paid through the state. So there's no money exchange or anything accordingly after this person qualifies?
In the fast paced world we live in, being a caregiver is more demanding than ever. But what if there was a solution that could ease your burden? Introducing CareCab. CareCab is not just another ride-sharing service. Our drivers are vetted, trained, and certified in the care of the older adult person. They understand the intricacies of geriatric emergencies, recognize medical devices, and are equipped with the patience and demeanor needed for older adult persons. Our drivers undergo rigorous background checks and are trained in first aid and CPR, ensuring your loved ones are in safe hands. From everyday errands to critical medical appointments, CareCab is here to lift your day-to-day caregiver burden. Let CareCab be your ally in caregiving. Contact us today and experience the difference. CareCab, because caring starts with us.
So
Right.
to review, there's meal prep,
Mhm.
there's additional PT,
Yes,
there is grooming and dressing,
there's the health aid.
bathing. Mhm.
There's the personal emergency services device. We have specifically a program that gives more OT and PT specifically for TBI patients. And we have adult medical daycare, which is also a service that I didn't talk about. It's nice because the wraparound option of
Is
the care
holistic.
um,
Yeah.
they can go to a senior day program from 9 to 1, and then the aide can then be in the house from 1 to whatever time. So their day is full, and they're getting those care hours, in the waking time of the day, and the aide may get them showered in their pajamas and get them ready for bed, and they're not, they're alone at night, but they're in the bed, they're sleeping.
Right. Now, does the aide do any meal prep in and of itself? Is that a
Yes.
part of the home? So they
Yes.
will prepare the meals and all
Yes.
of those things
Health
as well.
aide assists with personal care, grooming, meal prep, housekeeping, shopping, laundry, dressing.
Any
down
transport outside the home?
From what I understand, and I can't attest to this because I'm not a home care agency, you might want to maybe do a podcast with them on to the
Mm-hmm.
extent of how much they can do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe, I do know that they escort them to doctor's appointments as well, but I'm not sure if it's done by car or if they have to do it with public transportation. But the MLTSS program, we also provide medical and non-medical transportation to appointments. So that's another service. It's a lot of services you can get with the MLTSS, but again, you have to be at that income level.
Very interesting. So
Yeah.
it's important. It's
Mhm.
important work, but it also is a pain point and a thorn in my side as well. Just for instance, today I just spoke with our tax accountant, and as you know, when mom fell
Mhm.
in 23, in the middle of the holiday season, she's in the rehab,
Mhm.
and I had to handicap capable her bathroom. There
Yes.
was an emergency grant
Mhm.
offered by the county,
Mhm.
which they wanted 3 independent contractors to quote on before the work could
Before it could
begin.
even get done. Same.
And
Yep.
yet I'm in a 14-day window for my
Right.
mom to be discharged from rehab. Like,
Yes.
it was the classic case of the systems not really being designed to help people.
Right.
So
Right.
now all of that money was paid out of pocket, because then on top of it, there was some loophole where it wasn't an emergency. So meaning
Oh.
that on their end, I mean, the
Mhm.
monies would have come way after the fact, and by the
Yeah.
time, like, it needed to get done. Okay.
Mhm.
So now we're here,
Yeah.
at tax time, and the accountant saying, well, she's not your dependent. She's not
Mhm.
your dependent, but yet she doesn't make enough to even file taxes. But
Mhm.
yet I can't write off a 10 grand ticket
Mhm.
that was an expense and a hardship
Yes.
as a sandwich family to
Mhm.
manage. So
Mhm.
it's, if I'm one story out of hundreds of thousands, right?
Yeah.
So it's important work, but I'm really on this mission to kind
Yeah.
of ferret out how one goes to get after these services.
Yeah. Because like I said, unfortunately, there is a gap
Yeah.
for the middle class, retired, elderly, disabled, chronically ill, because all of my members are not elderly. I have a few that are actually quite young, but they've got illnesses that have put them out of work. They can't go back to work. I have one member who is schizophrenic. So although functionally she doesn't need a cane, she doesn't need to be helped into the shower, but when she has her exacerbations of schizophrenia, when she's hearing voices, she has children, her sister has to come over it and take care of everybody because she's debilitated. She's literally like almost not a danger to herself, but like the voices create an issue. She's having hallucinations, and it
Thoughts of
really
grandeur, all the things.
it
Yeah.
affects her day, where they're so
Mm.
bad that she can't make the kids a meal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's like we have those individuals in the community as well. It's not just the elderly, you know,
Right, right,
but
right.
it's sad because, like you explained, you have, I think about myself being a nurse for so many years. When I retire, you know, what am I going to do if I'm to the point where my sons have to now figure things out for me? because I'm
Yeah.
home and they got to help me, but yet they have their own families.
Right. And this is definitely,
Yeah.
we don't like to talk about it in our own cohort,
Yeah.
but, now in our 50s, it's time to have these difficult conversations to
Yeah.
say, okay, are the documents in order?
Right.
Because,
Right.
for me, it's an honor to care for my mother. That's not the burden. The
Right.
burden is navigating systems that aren't designed to help her in the first place. So then I'm just wasting my time,
No. And that's
and
the thing.
seeing this
Said
with
it.
patients at bedside over and over, press 1, press 8. I've even done this as a pregnant woman,
Mhm.
trying to get a disability satisfied. I mean,
Right.
the systems are not user friendly, even for
No.
your most tech savvy person.
No.
So it's definitely something that I'm going to continue to kind of
Mhm.
pursue in terms of educating our audience.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
God forbid you're alone and you don't have a daughter
Yeah,
and you
exactly.
need to like give me
Exactly.
the phone, let me call and do it for you. And you have this
Exactly.
85-year-old on the phone with Medicaid trying to yeah, yes.
Exactly. Yes, absolutely.
And then
Absolutely.
add non-English speaking or add
Hearing impairment. I mean,
add has a fourth grade education. Add, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
Well,
that's what
I
I
applaud you for the work. I applaud you
yeah.
because it's
Thank
it's
you.
it's necessary work, and we
It is.
need people in the field that have a heart for the people.
It is.
Uh, yeah.
Um and I'm hoping that this reaches Black people specifically because there's services that we have no idea about in the community. And I see a larger number of Latino, larger number of Asians using the MLTSS services and not a lot of us. And it's
Mm,
disheartening because I know there's a lot of us that are at or below the poverty level that could definitely benefit from these services. So
hmm
if you're watching this, share it, you know, share with family members that could really use the services and the extra support in the community, and don't be ashamed to reach out for the help because that's another thing with us. We tend to be ashamed of the fact that we, need the help or
Need
don't have
support.
need
And,
support.
and that is very
Yeah.
inherent in our culture. And,
Mhm.
it's a pride point as well, because we want to
It
be
is.
able to say, I did it all, I helped her, I did it
Right.
all, right?
Right.
But at what cost? At what cost to our own mental health, as children, right?
Yeah.
As support systems
Mhm.
to our aging loved ones. And additionally, right, the stubborn nature, which I hear universally,
Mhm.
you black, white, green, the universal nature of the older person just being stubborn. Like, no, I'm not
Mhm.
letting anyone in my house, or no, I
Right.
can do it myself, or,
Right.
till there's an injury. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. 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 Yep.
I have a 91-year-old and she finally agreed to home health aid. And I've been trying to convince her for a year. I've been with her for 2 years. And her son, who lives across the country, he's not here on this coast. He's on the other coast, finally talked her into it. And I said, okay, oh, thank God. I
Yeah.
mean, she needs the
Yeah.
help, but her
Yeah.
pride would not let her have someone come into her home.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna
So
they're gonna
very
steal
real.
from me. They're gonna steal from me.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have anything to steal. I didn't mean to say that, but you don't have any. What do you have to steal? The little bit they have, they don't want someone to
They
steal.
would,
You know?
absolutely. Yeah. So it's a very slippery slope of
Yeah,
honor and preserving dignity, but also being preventative and
that part.
proactive.
That
Absolutely.
that part.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I love you, dear friend.
I love you
Thank
too.
you. So just briefly, just give me the top 5 steps someone should take if they
Mhm.
meet this criteria to get this program.
The first thing to do is if you have Medicaid, if you currently have Medicare and Medicaid, on the back of every card, there's a member services number. Call the member services number and say, I would like to enroll in the MLTSS program. Someone will call them and they'll do a quick assessment to determine if they actually meet the requirements of the program. Okay. Another way, step 2, njfamilycare.org, which is a website. If they're more tech savvy, or if they have a grandson or grandchild or daughter or son that can go on the internet for them, you can get more information that way. Also, your Department of Aging, your county Department of Social Services. Every county has a Department of Social Services. Every county has a Department of Social Services. They have more information there as well. Also, this is another option that people don't realize, but if you have a family member that's currently in the hospital or in a nursing home setting, they know about MLTSS. They don't tell you about MLTSS too much, but they also are very fully aware of MLTSS, because whenever I have a member that ends up getting hospitalized for whatever reason, the case managers in the hospital call me immediately. So
gotcha.
Know about MLTSS.
Okay.
So
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Care Pod.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Thank you.
You, girl.
Thank you.
Great information right from the source. For more information on how to caregive like a boss, check out impactfulcaregiving.com. Want to be a guest on the show? Contact us at CarePod at impactfulcaregiving.com.